Okay, we are ready to begin. Good evening and welcome to the School District of Waukesha College Admissions Panel, our first inaugural school district-wide. So my name is Ryan Pat. I'm an associate principal at Waukesha West High School. I'm going to get things started here tonight. Just a little background as to kind of how we got this together. We have a district leadership team that is focused on our grading practices within the School District of Waukesha. A common occurrence or a common question we get from our parents in the community is, how do our changes in grading scale and grading practices affect college admissions? And that, along with some other questions, seem to be fairly prevalent. So we wanted to bring the individuals here that make those determinations and have those conversations to allow you to engage with them and ask questions. We did send out a survey to most of the people here to gather some of those questions, to have those preset. So we do have kind of some themes we're going to share with you, and also give you an opportunity to just ask questions as we come around throughout the process. So the agenda is popped up right there. So 6 to 6:10 are some kind of our instructions here. We're going to dive into the questions, the Q&A piece. And like I said, we have some scripted questions. After we ask those, then we want to have an opportunity for you to engage, and we'll come around kind of old-fashioned style with the microphone and let you ask questions and have our reps answer. So then we'll have some closing remarks, and then we do have cookies out there, as well as we'll have some punch. Reminder, this is a live streaming and taped event, or it's going to be taped after this, but it is live, so be on your best behavior as we go through this process. So I will let Melanie Foreman take over from here.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Like Ryan said, we really appreciate you coming out tonight, and a big thank you to our reps. We've reached out to some reps in the area, and to be honest, reps come from all over the state and all over the country, and they are really very excited about representing their school, but also just representing what you're looking for as far as college admissions goes. And as a team, they all come together, and it's been a wonderful thing to witness. So we want to thank you very much for being here this evening. We'll start with question number 1, and as Ryan shared, these are taken from you and summarized to bring forward for this evening, and then we will open it up as well for questions that might stem from the initial ones. To begin, and it really, I'm sorry, I skipped over a part for the introductions piece. Our colleges will go through and introduce themselves. We'll start down at the end. After that, we will go into the questions. But each college is going to introduce themselves, and any minor updates or just a quick hello. So if you wanted to start all the way at the end with Madison. Thank you.
Wonderful. Hi, folks. My name is Mark Swenson. I'm a freshman admissions counselor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm also a current graduate student and was an undergrad there, so it's been really tough for UW to get rid of me. But a big change that's going on at the University of Wisconsin, something that's going to be applicable to all of our prospective students out here, is that UW is going to be making the transition to the Common Application. That being said, for this junior class coming up, those students will have the option to apply to UW-Madison using either the Common Application or the UW System Application. There isn't a better choice. It's completely up to the student what they would like to do. We're going to be asking for the same information. Only changes really, deadlines, dates are going to stay the same. Big change is going to be just some of our wording. So our previous first notification period now going to be called early action, non-binding. And our second notification period is going to be known as our regular decision. Our personal statements will be called essays, and also we will require one academic letter of recommendation. So it's been a little bit different from the past where it has been optional, so we will require one academic letter of rec. That's about it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Hahn from UW-Whitewater. We don't have too many major updates. So with the Common App, I know we're still in conversation whether or not we're going to utilize that, but we'll still be using the regular app as well. So that's where we're at.
I'm Justin Stigler from UW-Oshkosh. I would like to echo what Dave is saying, is there's not much change going on at Oshkosh. We're too looking in the Common Application, but other than that, everything should be the same as it was this previous fall.
Hi, my name is Katie Mayota. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions at UW-Milwaukee. Not too many changes, but 2 things I do want to brag about in case you didn't hear. We did just receive our Research 1 designation from Carnegie, which is one of the highest, or the highest rating that you can receive. Madison is the only other R1 institution in the state. 115 universities in the nation have this designation, so we're very excited about that. Part of what helped us get us there is my other bragging point, which is 30 members of our physics staff and students were recognized internationally for helping to identify the detection of gravitational waves, which is something that Albert Einstein presented many years ago, obviously. And we were just a part of that. So that's our big news at UWM, and this is the tiniest microphone I've ever spoken into in my life.
Thank you, Katie.
Hi, my name is Kyle Wallace from the University of Wisconsin-Parkside's admissions office. I work as a new freshman admissions counselor, and so I typically work with students from the Milwaukee, Janesville, Beloit, and Madison area, but for my job I work with students all across the Wisconsin and out-of-state students as well. A big change, not really a big change, but a big update we just had released yesterday was that we have special education and early childhood education was just approved by the Board of Regents, so we will be rolling that out soon. So we're very happy about that and the growth of our education program.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Stern and I'm coming from UW-Waukesha tonight. So I just started this position earlier in the year and I statewide recruit within the Southeast region. So hopefully I'll be talking with you and seeing a lot of you in the future. But I do recruit for the 2-year colleges, so for students who want to start at UW-Waukesha and transfer to a 4-year school. Otherwise, no current updates.
And I will jump in, sorry there, Rachel. We do have James Bowling here this evening for any students interested in understanding more about being a first-generation student, and he will also be speaking with everybody in the hallway afterwards. Gave Rachel the stage.
Hello everyone, I'm Jose with WCTC. I'm a new student recruiter. I work closely with the school district of Waukesha, so I work with their students with the admission process and then we transition them over to their advisors, similar to guidance counselors.
Grant Monroe from Marian University, located in Fond du Lac. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions at Marian. I'm also an alum. I work primarily with students from Waukesha, so Melanie got me here, and I've known Ryan for quite a long time. But when students apply from Waukesha, I'm the reader for those files, as well as I'm the main reader for all the files that come through our admission office.
Okay, hello, I'm Carlos Garces from Marquette University, and I'm the recruiter who comes here to Waukesha, actually all the Waukesha schools. Your timing is perfect because we have an open house coming up this Saturday. So if you want to learn all about Marquette, come down to the open house on Saturday. It starts at 10 o'clock and runs until 3. We're going to have department presentations from all of our different departments so you can learn about arts and sciences, business, communication, education, engineering, health sciences, and nursing. Those are our 7 colleges. And so come on down if you can. You just sign up on the, you can sign up for it right on our website.
Hi, my name is Ellie Meinholtz. I'm from Milwaukee School of Engineering. Also MSOE, so not just engineering, also fields in actuarial science, nursing, and business. Not a whole lot of changes on our end, but I guess to tail off of that, our open house is April 23rd. So if you guys are interested in hearing more about our engineering programs, again, business, nursing, and math, come and visit us, meet with faculty, explore some of our student organizations, and have some fun with us. So thanks.
Thank you. Wow. Right on time, everybody. Good work, even with us a little behind schedule. All right. We will begin with question number 1. Actually, there's our introduction as well. Okay. Question number 1. When grading policies vary from one district to the next and across the country, how does your institution compare student GPAs? Is there a standard formula in relation to GPA that is used by college admissions to decide which student meets your criteria for admission?
Yes.
Who wants to go first?
Very common among many of our institutions, but not necessarily all of them. We do comprehensive admissions, meaning that we look at the entire student profile, who they are as a person, as well as their academics to make that determination. I did get a sneak peek at some of the questions, and so I'm going to answer maybe several of them in this, but we look at a lot of transcripts. We know more about GPAs and different scales and different ways to measure, and we see 6-point scales and 5-point scales, and everything you can imagine. So we're very good at deciphering GPAs and assessing rigor and understanding what preparation means and what that looks like. Is there a magic formula at UWM for admission? I can't emphasize enough that what we're analyzing when we look at a student's profile is their ability to be successful. And that's many different things. It's a combination and a correlation of the classes that they took, the grades that they earned in those courses, what their test scores are like, what their extracurricular activities are, what some of the life challenges they face, that entire picture to kind of determine how well a student can do at UWM. I say to my students all the time, we're not looking to see if you can get into UWM, we're looking to see if you can get out of UWM. So, for real. And I think that changes the perspective just a little bit when looking at that. And so again, I know that there's questions in here about the recent kind of scaling change that you've gone through. I think I can speak for everyone. We got it. We'll be able to assess and determine and appropriately work with you and your students.
And just to add to that, when I see the question, compare student GPAs, we don't compare student by student. We look at each student as individuals and look at that and what rigorous course they're taking to add to what she had said before. So we look at their GPAs, and like she said, we see numerous grading scales, 4-point, 5-point, 6-point. I've even seen 10-point scales. And we can break it down to where it's commonly as a 4-point scale, and then I actually look at AP credits and things like that as well.
Yeah, I think you both summed it up very, very well. We're not comparing students between different districts. We are looking at those students individually. And that being said, I think that counselors and administration has done a wonderful job of making sure that we as counselors are very updated with as up-to-date school profile information as there is, so that aids us greatly in going about and making a determination on each particular student, being able to gauge them in the context of their grade or school. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry if you couldn't hear me, folks. But that's really helps us as we go about gauging the student in the context of their grade or school, what type of curriculum, what type of rigor is available to them, and how their performance plays into that as well.
Thank you. This is a loaded question.
This mic card is a little funky, sorry about that. Okay, question 2. As part of a standards-based grading system, students are provided several opportunities to learn and obtain the knowledge necessary to meet specific standards. At times, this translates to a high school student as a chance to correct their work or have a second or third, etc., opportunity to demonstrate proficiency. Has your institution noticed any positive or negative ramifications with this style of grading and how students may handle the rigor of college-level courses? I can repeat it if you want. Just kidding.
Okay, I have seen a couple of the students that work in the admissions office at UW-Oshkosh go through some of this experience, and I can tell you it's a difficult transition from high school where you have 3-4 opportunities to complete an assessment, a test, a project, whatever it may be. All of us have gone through college at the undergraduate and the graduate level. I can tell you, you can maybe ask for an extension, but more often than not, professors are going to encourage you to have your homework done on time. That's pretty much how it works at the college level. So what we're seeing right now is students are kind of being given the opportunity to have a couple of different chances. The college level, that's not really how it's going to work. So what we're encouraging students is take the ownership right now while you're in school. If you have a due date, adhere to it. If you have a test coming up, don't push it off because of practice or theater or ensembles or something like that. Make sure you're cognizant of what's coming up and make sure you're getting it done at the appropriate time.
I agree. There are also some positive aspects to it. One of the most important things that students at the college level do who are successful is learn to advocate for themselves. So if students going through this kind of grading system where you get feedback and you get the chance to improve, try and do that earlier in the process, right? If they can take those skills and that opportunity that they get from those extra chances or that more in-depth feedback from their teachers, use that earlier. Go take advantage of your faculty members' office hours, take advantage of tutoring, and use those chances and those rewrites that you're learning about now to meet the deadlines of college. I again reiterate, for UWM, it's about learning that information. So that's what we want to see. So from an admissions standpoint, we don't have a problem with it, but sometimes there can be that difficult transition when the college level doesn't feel the same way.
For MSOE, we actually run on a quarter system, which can be tricky because there's only 3 during the school year. So it's 3 quarters essentially, but they're 10 weeks long, and then you have a week of finals, and then you have a week off, and you move on to the next quarter. So that can be a challenge, I think, for students coming in. So kind of what other counselors were saying, it is something that you do try to need to work on in high school, because by the time you get to college or get to MSOE, things move pretty quickly. And there are a ton of resources and a ton of people to help you be successful and to help you through all of that. It's not impossible. We're not trying to make it impossible for you, but it does move quick. So it's good to stay on top of stuff and try to do it right the first time.
So I'm wondering if at this time, do we have any questions, right? We've gone through 2 questions. So is there anybody that wants to ask a question based on our first 2 questions and responses at this time? We got one up over there. Here comes the mic.
Let's get a little Price is Right music in the background.
Yeah, we need to get music next year. Where'd you go? Right here?
Hey. Do you guys prefer to see a high GPA or a lot of involvement in extracurricular activities on a student's profile?
That's a good question.
Morning. I will answer every question if you give me the opportunity. Put a tiny mic in front of me and I'm happy. To answer your question, yes.
And that actually might spiral into a question we have coming up. There's a scenario that has been asked from a lot of parents and anybody who filled out the survey prior to, but there was a scenario given about different students. So we'll ask that too. That might give more of an opportunity to see the type of student who might be involved and not. But that is a very good question, and I think that breaks it down from each rep's standpoint of understanding who you are in high school and what you'll be at the college level. So we can either...
Do you want me to wait? It's question 4.
You know what, Katie? I have faith in you. You can start.
Go
on ahead.
Permission?
It's a good question.
Get comfortable, people. No, I'm just kidding. Again, it's about that correlation. If you're involved in 10 activities and you have a 1.0, no. If you have a 4.0, I'm happy no matter what. But if you have a 4.0 and all of your time is spent working so hard to get that 4.0, that you're not kind of having a balance. We see a lot of students who then flip that balance when they get to college and really indulge in these social activities. And so we want that well-rounded student. We want someone involved in extracurricular activities who's going to come and flourish and add wonderful things to our culture, but who's still there for academics first. So it's about that balance, but academics more so than extracurriculars for UWM.
Yeah, I would echo that as well from UW-Madison. In terms of, we're looking at the entire student, and we're hopeful that, the way that we review applications is holistic, meaning that we're going to look at every single piece of that student's application and making a determination on their fit for UW-Madison. And we're hopeful that, I think the word well-rounded is a great thing to describe what we're looking for in particular students. We want to see the great things that you're doing outside of the classroom. We want to see, how you're being a leader, if you're involved in student organizations, jobs, whatever it may be, athletics. But first and foremost, we do want to see that you're performing well in the classroom, because that's what you're coming to campus to be successful in the classroom. We want to be assured that you are ready to go ahead and do so.
At Marquette, we do factor in a lot of different things, and like was mentioned several times, the bottom line is you have to have good academics. You have to be solid academically, and then beyond that, when we review a student, we factor in things like the essay, we rate that, we look at their leadership and we rate that, we look at their service and we rate that. These are things that we value in a student coming into Marquette, and so we factor those things in And eventually you end up with all these different ratings and all these different factors help position the student within the pool. So if you've got two students that are very similar grade point wise, and one is a lot more active or has a lot more leadership and service and things like that, that student is going to be, you know, ranked a little bit higher, have a better chance of getting in. Even you'll have it sometimes where a student with, I'm not talking huge GPA discrepancies, but let's say a slightly higher GPA student, a slightly lower GPA student who's really active could get in ahead of the student who's slightly better academically. That's not going to happen when it's really big discrepancies, but if they're close, that can happen. So hopefully that sheds a little more light.
So I don't want to make it sound like all of those things are not important, but MSOE definitely takes kind of a different approach where our biggest focus is, have you had academic success? So we are looking at your GPA, the courses you've taken, and your ACT. Again, not that that other stuff isn't important, but for us, we need to see that you have had success in high school, that you can put the work forward to get the good grades, and that you have the capacity, you know, that you have, I don't know, I guess the intelligence to be able to be successful at MSOE. So we're looking at your test scores and your GPA. I would say that in some situations it is good to see a lot of that other stuff for students that are kind of on the cusp of the admission requirements. So for students that might have kind of an average GPA or kind of an average ACT, to see, for us at least, you've been involved in like the engineering academy, or you've done a CNA class, or like something additional that would work towards your program at MSOE, that stuff's good to see.
Answers. I know we do have one question coming up about the transfer system as well, to kind of understand if you have not automatically gotten into the school that you were hoping for, there's always going to be another pathway of getting there, as far as explaining the transfer system and possibly starting with 2-year and technical. So that is something we value very much in the school district of Waukesha, so we definitely will be highlighting that as well. Question number 3, in addition to the previous question, can you share how the college readiness of the school district of Waukesha students compares to other districts locally and nationally? Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer Jones from UW Green Bay as well. Some traffic.
Sorry, I'm making a dramatic entrance.
We're happy to have you. You have to answer this question right now, though.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I will start. At Marian, we've had students from the school district of Waukesha, and those students have done well. As it was mentioned before, I think each student is going to be different, no matter where they come from, whether it's Waukesha, Milwaukee, Arizona, California, wherever. But the thing is, what they have to understand is the biggest adjustment from high school to college is time management. There's going to be a lot of hours spent outside of the classroom that they have to manage and be able to do well successfully. So each student is going to be different in that aspect.
I would piggyback, sorry about that, I'd piggyback on something that Katie had said earlier. It's about being an advocate for yourself as well. We've seen a lot of great students come out of Waukesha who maybe in high school didn't have to work as hard, and maybe didn't have to put the time into their writing or their reading. And then when they get to college, it's a lot different. Professors expect a lot more from you in writing. Specifically, that's one thing I would talk to families all the time about, is take advantage of the writing center early on. Even if you're a straight A student, take that paper into the writing center early on to have them go through some stuff. So go out there and find those student services that are offered to students. Find it early on. Maybe it's just the first time through and you know what, you've got it, but at least you've used it. But it's better to get ahead of it now than let a snowball effect happen. So maybe you get a C on that first paper or that first exam, and you're like, you know what, I've got this. And then you take that second one, and it's a C again. Well, by that time, it's too late. So get out early, take advantage of some of the different services that are out there.
To try to answer the question a little bit, we don't have a magical ranking. We don't have like a order of schools or anything like that, but we do have general impressions. And Waukesha has a good reputation. It's looked at as a very solid school district with good preparation, good opportunities, good students. I mean, it doesn't hurt you when that transcript arrives and it says Waukesha, in any of the Waukesha schools. It's not going to be negative. It'll be a slight positive, actually. It's going to be looked at as a solid, good place. So.
Yeah, and to go along with that, I feel like Waukesha students are well advised. So, going to the guidance counselors, when I'm looking at Waukesha transcripts, I know the units are going to be there, and I know that the rigor is going to be there for the students who are applying. So it's just a matter of taking a closer look. But I think the guidance counselors for all the Waukesha schools do a nice job of really working with students and making sure that they have the units and everything they need to apply.
So we could go ahead and jump into this one. I know, Ryan, you're up to read. So, but this is similar to the one we had asked before. Go on ahead if you want to.
Okay, we didn't pay them to say that, and if you want to say that again, my boss, about how well
it is live. We
prepared. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, question 4, and we'll see how similar it is and go from there. Given these 2 sample students, please share how your college or university may make an admissions decision for acceptance or denial. Student A, 3.0 weighted GPA with no AP classes, but is involved in athletics, clubs, activities, and volunteers their time outside of school. Would this student most likely be accepted or denied in your institution? Student B maintains 4.3 weighted GPA and has taken several AP courses, but no extracurricular activities or community involvement outside of their school day. Would the student most likely be accepted or denied to your institution? Pressure is on.
And a big piece in there that's missing is ACT or test scores. Because that helps give us a firmer grounding of the GPA and ACT or SAT combined. I know when I'm reading applications, generally the first thing I'm going to do is read the personal statement. So that can really frame the way we view the rest of your whole file. So if there's something you're very strong in, you want to highlight that or explain that in the personal statement, or if there's something you struggle in, or if there's reasons for struggles or a downtrend in a single year, that's a good place to point that out as well, so that when I'm looking at the transcript, I can see, oh yeah, this happened there. That kind of helps explain that. So without knowing some of those other things, I don't know that we could give specific answers whether or not these students would be admitted or denied, but hopefully that helps explain the process a little bit.
I think another part that I want everyone to hear is that at UWM, and probably some of these other institutions, we look at the cumulative GPA for about half a second, and then we're looking at the rest of the transcript. We spend so much time analyzing that transcript. What were your grades freshman year, then sophomore year, then junior year? Are they trending up? Are they trending down? Taking away the elective courses and recalculating the GPA to see what it is in the core electives. What is your GPA across English for the past 3 years, across math for the past 3 years? We really spend a lot of time, again, determining who you are every day for the past 3 to 4 years, what effort you're putting in, and again, how that correlates with the ACT, with the classes that you took. So I wish I could just answer your question, but it's more complicated than that.
I know for at UW-Parkside, looking at the 3.0 GPA and the 4.3 weighted, we will unweight that GPA. And kind of echoing what Dave, I believe, said from UW-Whitewater, is there is a huge emphasis put on that personal statement, because that's an opportunity for us to see what level you're writing at. And so I know just looking at this, like they both said, really coming down to what you put for your essay, how well written it is, will really help that determination on if the student will be admitted or not. I mean, both students look like pretty decent students on paper with the 3.0 GPA and all the involvement. That's great. And then also with the 4.3 weighted, I'm assuming that's around a 3-something unweighted. And then also taking those AP classes shows that you have academic rigor. But really the key thing that a lot of you students should focus on as you move forward and get ready to start applying to different universities is that personal statement, because that could be the tipping point if you get admitted to a school or if you don't get admitted to a school.
I appreciate that as a counselor, because a lot of students ask that. In addition, if they don't ask for a letter of recommendation or an essay, do I have to write it? Do I have to do it? To me, it's that much more personal. But if possible, could we piggyback off of that to talk a little bit about weighted versus unweighted, and what you're doing as a college admissions representative when you look at that transcript? Are you automatically doing something with that, the GPA points?
Should we just go down the row and see who uses weighted versus unweighted and then answer the question?
That's a great idea, Mr. Stigler.
Well, UW-Madison, again, our counselors are very well versed in a great number of different grading scales, and we're going to be able to understand that greater GPA. But, as a colleague of mine at UW said today, GPA is not what it used to be. We're really looking at each one of those particular courses. We understand the rigor level of these particular courses, and we're going to look at that in the context of the greater school, what's available to you, and those students' performance within those particular classes. So that being said, we're going to be looking at those trends. We're going to be looking at those different things. GPA is, important, but we want to look at the individual performance in each one of those particular classes as it pertains to that student.
And I would say that same thing, but we also unweight the GPA. So
We unweight.
We unweight.
We unweight as well. We unweight the GPA.
UW Green Bay unweights, but we also look at the school profile pretty closely when a school does weight their GPA as to why they're maybe doing that. So again, back to the rigor, we'll look at that school profile to find out from that school, what is the grading scale, what are the average GPAs and ACTs coming out of that school.
We will unweight as well at UW-Waukesha, and we're especially going to be looking at more so is just the high school requirements. So we're really looking at that core curriculum to make sure everyone is meeting those high school requirements and then meeting the admissions criteria as well.
WCTC unweights it as well. We're looking at courses, we're looking at transcripts, what courses you've taken, AP, transcript of courses, course options, and then again, the ACT score. Or with us, the compass, if you choose to do the compass.
We unweight as well, and similar to Jen, we'll take a look at the school profile and see how rigorous the courses are and everything like that.
Yeah, there's so many different grade point scales out there. Each transcript we pull up is a different scale, so we really look at the individual courses, and we look at the grades that the student received in those courses. And so essentially it's unweighting, but we really don't use the GPA much. We look at the transcript and we make a decision based on the grades the student received.
For MSOE, in terms of admission, if you are over a 3.0, assuming that ACT scores are good, you're admissible. So kind of different to like a lot of other schools. If you meet our requirements, you're in. So we do have to unweight the GPA to see if you're above that. Now, sometimes in terms of like academic scholarships and stuff like that, we will take your weighted just to help you out a little bit, but that's assuming that you're already admissible, if that makes sense.
And one of the biggest messages I'm hearing is just performing well in classes, ultimately. Okay. Question number 5. Our district recently changed our grading scale. Points awarded for grades have changed. As a parent who had a child with a high GPA under the old scale, I'm concerned about my younger kids at their GPA, as their GPAs won't be as high. I know my child's higher GPA did matter when college acceptances came in. So 2 questions stem from that. Does that change impact how transcripts are reviewed for admissions, which I think we've kind of heard that resonate throughout all of the messages this evening? And then do you consider the district of origin when determining admissions? So again, does anybody feel the need to want to expand further on that? Yes.
I just want to rest everybody's fears in here. The school district of Waukesha, for I believe the last 2 years, has put this on your transcripts that this was coming. So our office has been aware of this change for 2 years. This summer at UW-Oshkosh, we'll switch the GPA, so the numbers that you have been advertising for 2 years, it's going to go into our system, so there will be no effect for next fall. So I'm kind of sensing there's some concern here. You guys you're covered, don't worry. The 2-year notice has been noticed.
I took a big deep breath when that topic came up, because I said that's a good sign that the communication is there for colleges to understand any changes, and rest assured that the parents that we're aware that that's happening and translated. Okay.
Okay, question 6. Sometimes it is stated that a B in an AP course is the same as receiving an A in a regular class. Does your school feel this way when reviewing student transcripts?
No. No, a B in an AP class is not the equivalent to an A in another regular course. That is not the case. However, we are going to be obviously understanding the types of classes that students are taking and the rigor that goes with advanced placement courses. And we'll be factoring that in as we go about our assessment, but we are not changing the grades in our head based on that. In particular, just looking for that high, strong performance across all subjects, regardless of the rigor.
I think it might be helpful. At UWM, when we are looking at the factors for admission, we're looking at 4 different categories. One is classes taken in high school and the rigor of those. One is the GPA, one is the ACT or SAT, and one is the non-academic factors, all the wonderful things you'll bring to campus. So putting AP and a grade together, we kind of separate them out. We give you quote-unquote credit for your AP courses in that first factor and then look at your actual grade kind of separately from that. So I don't know if that helps clarify it a little bit and kind of justification as well why we unweight, because we kind of got to have everybody on an equal playing field, but it's not a disadvantage to be unweighted or to have that AP grade count as an A in a non-AP course either. Does that make any sense, what I just said? Okay. It means you get extra GPA points for a class. So an A, instead of being 4 points, would be 5 points, which when you mix it in with the rest of unweighted courses, it's going to give the student a little bit higher of a GPA for that.
Another advantage of taking a rigorous curriculum is going to be not only do you get the credit like UWM does, we do the same thing, we do rate the rigor and we factor that in separately. But the other hidden factor here is that as you challenge yourself more in high school and you take a more rigorous curriculum, you're going to end up doing better on your ACT or SAT. The performance on the ACT or SAT is very highly correlated to how challenging your high school curriculum was. So you get this benefit on the other side of doing better on your ACT, which puts you in a better position for admission. So there's another benefit of challenging yourself.
I'm going to jump off of that. There's another benefit to taking those rigorous courses, and that is success in college. Getting in isn't the end goal, actually. It's getting that diploma from that school. And I don't know if we've already covered this. Have we already covered this?
No, but that's good.
Okay, I'm
You're
just
a
saying.
genius.
Taking those AP classes, those honors courses, that's only going to help you be more successful in the long run. It's going to give you those skills and the way of thinking that your professors are going to want to see in the classroom. Your first year at UW-Green Bay, the first year at UW-Green Bay, if a student comes in from high school with a 3.0 GPA, their first, on an average, over the whole freshman class, their first semester in college is 1 full grade point lower cumulatively. So if they come in with a 3.0, their first semester would be around a 2.0, danger zone. And so we want students to take more rigorous courses in high school and to challenge themselves appropriately, but that will help them be successful. Students who take those AP courses, take that 4th year of math, take that 5th year of math if they can, are going to be more successful in that first year and graduate sooner and have less obstacles along their college path.
Just to follow up with the challenge yourself appropriately, there's no need to take 6 AP courses as a senior if those are not all of your strong suits. I mean, if you're not a big English person and you're trying really hard to just pass AP English, you're not necessarily doing yourself any favors. So challenge yourself appropriately is definitely the best way to do it. Make it a little bit hard for yourself, but don't kill yourselves because it's gonna do more harm than good.
Okay. What is an easy way to find out which AP courses are accepted and for how much credit for colleges and universities?
I think I'm going to answer this for everybody. Just ask the admission counselor, basically. Because we do have a list that we can print off of our website or send to you electronically or mail to you that we can give you a listing of what AP exams are taken, what scores you can get, and then what it will come in as.
Okay.
Thanks, Grant.
Yep.
That's easy. Thanks, Grant.
Question 8, how important are the college entrance essays and letter of recommendation for admission?
You know I'm going to answer. Very. I think we've mentioned it several times. My colleagues have done a great job, especially if you're a student on the bubble. We're going to read them. Same in our office, we read those first. I want to know what I'm going to see on your transcript. So if I hear about how wonderful and amazing and smart you are, and then I open up your transcript and you've got below a 2.0, I'm like, excuse me. We read that. And again, brag about yourself. It helps for scholarship purposes, for, introducing you to clubs and organizations, but also address those areas where you needed additional support and tell me, so you're not the greatest at science. What did you do? Did you get a tutor? Did you work with your teacher for extra assistance? Because we're not expecting everybody to be perfect at every subject when they start. But what we do need is students who are able to raise their hand and say, I need help. How do I get it? And be proactive. It's kind of that grit that we're trying to measure. So please write those. Do not text your essays. U is a 3-letter word. And when I see it as a 1-letter word, I mumble a 4-letter word under my breath. So please be very thoughtful with that. And as much as I care about my colleagues at Whitewater, when you're filling out UW-Milwaukee's application, please swap Whitewater for Milwaukee. You can cut and paste your essay, but just do one more little review. And letters of recommendation are also extremely helpful. Again, at UWM, we really value them when they're coming from teachers who worked with you in classes that you struggled in, because they can talk about that grit a little bit. Getting a letter of recommendation from your chorus teacher in which you got straight A's all 4 years, I know that you're good at that already, so thank you.
I would say, just to kind of piggyback off that, because I always tend to say the same things. Regardless of what university or college that you're going to within the essay, I've spoken with a lot of students who are very, very worried about the essay, and my biggest piece of advice is always try to share something that we necessarily don't get out of the rest of your application. We know that you like basketball. You've played basketball all 4 years, so we don't necessarily need to see that in an essay, and that's just a broad example, by all means. But I always like to say to students, if you're comfortable enough disclosing any information or even just sharing a story that either helps define you or share something that we don't get out of the rest of your essay, definitely share that with us, because that just shows us more of a bigger picture of who you are and what you can contribute to a university or a college. So that's always my piece of advice, as well as with the editing. There's a lot of English majors in the admissions world. They know. They just know, me being one of them. So we know when you don't edit, pass it along to a teacher, a friend, a parent, your counselor. Just please, please, please get a second read before you send it out. I beg of you guys. So, but that is my piece of advice, is definitely try to share something that we may not gather from the rest of your app.
I think
I just feel the need to speak up because, again, it's a little bit different for us. There is no essay for our application. Realistically, our application should not take students longer than 20 minutes. So it's quite a bit different of a process. Like you said, it's a little bit more academic focused. We don't necessarily require any letters of recommendation for actual admission. We do for a lot of scholarships and things like that. So I guess on that note, I would just say make sure that you're kind of like what everyone else said, tailoring it to what it's for, what its intended purpose is. But yeah, we don't require or really take them into consideration too much, unless again you're kind of a student who's on the cusp, who had a rough year, who had to experience something that might have affected grades and ACT scores and stuff like that.
I think that's a really good point. I'm going to jump off again because I'm a jumper-offer. I just want to say that I've read a lot of essays and personal statements where they tell a sad story, something bad that happened, maybe something that impacted the grades while they were in school, or sometimes I just hear, I'm a really bad test taker, but what they miss in that essay is the so what. So something bad happened, so I'm not a good test taker, so math sucks. We know those things by looking at your transcript, but can you tell us what happened? What did you learn? How did you grow? How did you overcome that? How did you get over that obstacle? Because what we're looking for in those statements is about your motivation, your ability to reach out for resources, your ability to overcome. Because we know in college you're going to have that same experience. You're going to run into a class, a professor, a subject, a roommate issue that's going to throw you off track. And we want to know that you have the skills and the ability to overcome. That would be my biggest pet peeve, along with texting, is that you should totally remember the so what in your stories. Thank you.
The same goes for WCTC. We don't require an essay for admission. We do have, when we're looking at your ACT scores, we have placement. So we're placing the courses that will set you up for success. We do offer remedial courses. So, for example, if you don't test into algebra, we'll offer pre-algebra. Does that make sense? And then, depending on if you want engineering or nursing, we do have additional exams.
That's great information to know, and actually a good segue to our next question. Thank you, Jose. Please discuss the transfer system or how students can best transfer from one university to the next if this were to happen in their future. Do credits equally transfer from one UW school to the next, or technical and 2-year?
So at UW-Madison, we have a very significant transfer population. Last year, we welcomed right around 1,500 students to campus by the transfer route, myself included. I was a transfer student, transferring to UW-Madison as a sophomore. It is a potential route to get to UW, should that be a place that you want to go. And one thing that I do suggest, or that students need to do, aside from any AP credit that you have taken, we do require students to come in, as sophomores, so they need to have 24 credits of college-level coursework. And what we really are looking for, we really would like to see that students are challenging themselves across a breadth of different subjects. In that, freshman, sophomore, junior year, whatever it may be. Obviously, we accept transfer students all throughout a student's time on campus, but challenging themselves across a variety of different subject areas as we go ahead and gauge, again, their readiness, taking into factors what happened in high school, but also how have you changed, what are you trying to pursue in your college level coursework. It's just one more factor to layer in, but there are a number of transfer opportunities.
All right, so there are many different factors about why UW-Waukesha is one of our 2-year colleges. But within the University of Wisconsin system, you have 13 2-year schools in conjunction with our 13 4-year schools. And what essentially we are here for as a 2-year college, as a freshman and sophomore college within the University of Wisconsin system, is we are in the same system as these 4-year schools and all of my colleagues now who are sitting right next to me. So we have that opportunity for students to not only earn their associate's degree, but they also can start working on their gen eds specifically to transfer to a 4-year school, whether that be a UW school especially, because that is essentially, there is a guaranteed transfer program, and there is the opportunity, since all the curriculum is within the University of Wisconsin system, to have that be a lot more seamless. So our purpose as a 2-year really is for students to be able to start closer to home, save on the money, and we have the lowest tuition in the UW system being at a little over $5,000, and start taking those general education classes. This is especially important for students who may not know what they want to do. You don't have to. It's good to have an idea, and it's great if you do know, but take that time as opposed to potentially spending a lot of money in residence halls and spending a lot of money on tuition at a place far away when you might end up transferring, which is, again, not an issue if that is the case. But take the opportunity now to explore the option of potentially a technical college or a 2-year school, and think about that transfer option, if not only to save on the money, but use that time to explore your different options in terms of majors and interests that you have.
Yes, I second that. And I get this a lot with parents, students, even counselors sometimes. What's the difference between UW-Waukesha and WCTC? If you know you want to go to UW system, 4-year institution, go to UW-Waukesha. And as a college recruiter, maybe that's like, no, what are you doing? I'm not trying to do you a disservice. I'm trying to do what's best for you. So if you're going to UW system school, UW-Waukesha is your best bet. We have transfer agreements with 4-year institutions. We do. For example, engineering. We have articulations with MSOE, with Marquette, with UWM. So there are 4-year paths by starting 2 years with us and going someplace else. But it depends on the program. So you're going to have to sit down with your, particularly at WCTC, you're going to have to sit down with your advisor. Look at what program you're getting into and see if there's a school that we have agreements with that you want to continue on with. If you don't want to go to that school, you want to go to UW system, UW-Waukesha is your best bet. We have articulations, our agreements are better with the private institutions, like your Marians, your Marquettes, your MSOE, your Carrolls.
And going along with that, there's some great tools. The transfer information system is online, so if you just do a Google search and type in transfer information system, you can see exactly how classes will transfer between all of the technical schools, the Wisconsin technical schools, and the UW system schools. So if you think you're going to start somewhere and you want to plan to transfer somewhere else, you can see how that kind of plays out. But if your plan is to ultimately transfer to somewhere else, it's always best to start at your end institution and kind of work backwards. So if you want to end up at Whitewater and you're going to start at UW-Waukesha, it's probably best to start at Whitewater and ask, well, what should I take? And then we can point you to the transfer system and say, this is the best bet. And we have a lot of students who will come from UW-Waukesha or WCTC. And if you earn your associate degree at Waukesha, UW-Waukesha, then that will waive your general education at Whitewater. So it's a great way there. Also, if students maybe don't meet our standard admission requirements as a new freshman, then it's a great kind of second chance to start at UW-Waukesha or WCTC. If you earn 12 transferable credits and earn at least a 2.0, then basically we're going to close the book on your high school record and we're just looking at your college work for admission purposes.
Go ahead. At this time, we will open up. I know we're nearing 7 o'clock as promised, if you do need to step out, but we'll open up for some questions that may not have been answered this evening. Thank you.
Hi, I am a current sophomore at Waukesha North High School, and I am very interested in genetics. I know some of you don't have genetics programs, but you can answer the question of how do I best get a scholarship, because college is way too expensive for me.
First of all, you come to a college night as a sophomore. That's really awesome.
That's a good start.
Right? Start researching scholarships now, seeing what scholarships are available now and what those criteria are. They'll change a little bit. But things like getting involved in activities, befriending rich people, I'm serious, if you know any, by the way. I'm single. Anyways, getting back. I can't believe I just said that. But being really proactive and starting early, researching different websites. There are so many scholarships out there. There are institutional ones. There are ones based on major. There are ones based on clubs and organizations. And then there are national ones that, for real, rich people like set up. I'm not even kidding you. This is very rare. Don't get your hopes up about this. But I had a friend in high school who got a scholarship because her grandfather was born in Pakistan. And so some other person whose grandfather was born in Pakistan was like, I want people whose grandfathers are born in Pakistan to have an easier time in college. Like, those are hard to find. It was $500. It wasn't 10 million, but there are just lots of things out there. So if you can set yourself up for success by researching some of them now, getting involved in that, and then starting that process early, and kind of scholarship hunting can be like a part-time job. Fill out a lot of applications, set yourself up, and give yourself the time to do those things. That's my advice too.
Just to kind of throw in 2 cents really quickly about especially external scholarships, there is an entire app that's called Scholly, and it literally is an app where it's pulling every single external scholarship you can find within the nation. So I always recommend going to that. It was created by a Drexel University student. I used to work there in Philly, but it's a really great app, and it's essentially built for that purpose alone of kind of like you said, it could be the oddest credentials in the world, but if you match them, definitely apply for them by all means. So Scholly app, look it up. I'm sure there's plenty of iPads and iPhones in the room right now. Definitely worth it to at least check it out and see what you can find.
I will actually jump right in there. Just coming from a counseling perspective and talking to a lot of current seniors who are rushing down to turn in scholarship applications to the guidance office, the big thing I will say is what a lot of the reps have said is start looking early, see what you're eligible for, do the work. It is almost like you are applying to college. just as equally as it is to the application admission because of the amount that people want to know. But I will say Waukesha in general is a very generous community, and a lot of people want to see high school students successful. So there are foundations set up, companies, businesses, organizations that are ready to give money to high school students who have done just as much of the same work, if not more, and are also looking for those stories, looking for specific situations that they know students have overcome something. Quite often us as counselors in every high school here in the school district of Waukesha see the applications and say, we wish there were more. You know, there's a lot of money out there. So please know and understand it might be a little bit of work, but do the work ahead of time. And all of our websites, you know, middle school websites, high school websites, we advertise as much as we can. And it's find that scholarship, see if you're eligible, see the criteria, and put the work in ahead of time because it will be worth it in the end. It will definitely save you money. Okay, other questions? We have one.
Go over
Mine's
here.
attached, otherwise I'd run right to you. Could take the little ones. Right up here in front. I got one? Okay. Here.
She had her hand up right here. Go ahead.
How do your schools accommodate people with learning disabilities or other special needs?
Here at WCTC, we have a Student Accessibility Center. We have specialists. The one that works with the school district of Waukesha, her name is Melanie Bevins. So like if you had IEP or doctor's notes, we will help you with accommodations. They may not be the same, but we'll find something similar to make sure you succeed.
I can touch on that really quick. I think each college and university is going to be different. I know at Marian we do have someone, a director that works with students with learning disabilities. None of us as colleges and universities can ask that on an application. You have to self-disclose that. And then once you send us an IEP, we'll make sure we get it to that office and to that person.
It's federally mandated that every college campus has to provide support services to students with disabilities, whether they're educational disabilities or physical disabilities. So every single campus that you're looking to interact with will have that support available. But I would like to reiterate, yes, it's not part of an admission decision. We don't take that into consideration. We're looking to see how well a student is doing. But it's after admission that student would work with that department to, again, not create the same things that happen because college is different, but figure out what that support is needed.
Okay, question up here.
I won't forget you up here.
You were starting to talk about the ACT scores on your websites, or can you just go through and say like what your minimum acceptance for the ACT score is per college?
Right, yeah, and there is not necessarily a minimum ACT score that we're looking for. I know at UW-Madison, at least, what we publish is our middle 50% of the class that we most previously brought onto campus. And our range, competitive range as we call it, is from 27 to 31, but that by no means is a benchmark. Again, we're looking at every single piece of a student's application, making that assessment on their fit for UW. So we are going to see scores that are below that. There is no minimum, but obviously we are understanding that we are looking for competitive ACT scores in conjunction with the rest of a student's application.
And that's the same at Whitewater. Our average ends up being about a 22.7, but again, there's higher, lower with that.
Yeah, at UW-Oshkosh with the comprehensive review right now, our GPAs are on a 3.1, ACTs about a 23, but it's give and take. That's why we have these comprehensive reviews. It's so that those students who maybe struggle with the ACT and have a higher GPA, we're able to make that work and vice versa.
Again, ditto, comprehensive admissions. So we have our honors students who are in the 30s, and then we have students who need additional assistance who can range all over the place. Ideally, a 36.
That's a perfect score, folks.
We're the same at UW-Parkside with all the other UW system schools where we kind of do a comprehensive review, so we don't have that minimum GPA or ACT. We just have our averages. In our freshman class last year at the University of Wisconsin-Parkside had an average ACT of a 21.
21.
21.
Average for the freshman class.
At UW Green Bay, same as the other comprehensive University of Wisconsin schools, our average is a 23 ACT, 3.3 GPA.
Yeah, UW-Waukesha, again, no set minimums. Like I know previous schools have said, our average ACT is a 19, and our average GPA is a 2.0.
WCTC, again, comprehensive review. But to answer your question, again, we're going to place you to courses. To like get placed into eligible, you need to score 17 minimum. Again, we have remedial courses, so if you are below 17, won't work with you. But then again, you have to be able to succeed.
Our requirement for Marian is an 18. We do super score. Our average incoming freshman class was a 21.
At Marquette, we don't have a cutoff, so there's not a minimum. We do look at the entire background of the student. Our middle 50%, so if you chop off the bottom quarter and chop off the top quarter of our students, it's between a 25 and a 29. That's the typical range. The exact average is about a 27.
So ours kind of varies depending on program. For business and nursing programs, we're looking for 22 ACT. Actuarial science, they're pretty strict. It's a 24 composite ACT with a 26 math score. So for both actuarial science and our engineering programs, we're looking at the composite, but we're also looking at the math score. We do not super score, but if you've taken the test more than once and we're looking at your math score, we'll take your highest composite and highest math. So for engineering, ideally over 24 or higher, but students 22 or higher is what we're looking for.
Ellie, would you mind explaining super score real quickly, please? Briefly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, so super score essentially is if you've taken the ACT more than once, it'll take your highest subject score from each test and bring it together for the highest composite. So essentially it's just bringing together the best of all of your tests for the maximum composite.
Thank you. We do have one more question, and then we will actually wrap up. Just to add to that, I have all questions that came in from parents, and I've summarized many for the admission reps. We will still be have those answered, and I know there are many questions that have not been answered, and many schools that have not been represented. There will be a college fair in the fall, so to expand on that, we want to bring this to the School District Waukesha more and more. So we appreciate you attending, and we'll have that last final question.
I'm a sophomore at West who's going to be I'm going to be taking the SAT and the ACT next year. What is the score you guys look at for like educational scholarships?
Either or the highest of the two, to be honest with you. Whatever's the highest score from the SAT or the ACT. So we'll take both. At least I know Marian will. Everyone else?
I'll say ditto for everyone else.
All right. Thank you again, everybody, for coming this evening. We really appreciate it. Please. Thank you. Please join us for speaking with admission reps, and we'll wrap up around 7:30 this evening at the latest. Questions will be posted at the website. Thank you.